Welcome to the Recruiter Startup School. My name's Dualta Doherty, and in this podcast series, I'll be interviewing investors, directors, founders, and general thought leaders from the agency recruitment world on how best to set up, scale, operate, and even sell your recruitment business. This week, I'm speaking to Rich Rosen. He's a $1 million biller from Boston, Massachusetts, and a really great guy. Rich has been in the industry for over 25 years, I think. He's built close to $1 million or over for the last 10 years, which is just incredible. And he does it all from his home office in Boston. Rich recruits for IT sales guys mainly, or professionals, not just guys. And yeah, we went through how he did it, how he set up, how he went from being a young stockbroker, making hundreds and hundreds of calls, to learning recruitment in 6 months and then launching his own company, and how he's never really scaled his business and he's still running a desk, and how he's never actually really met any of his candidates or clients. Great story, great guest, great guy. Hope you all enjoy it. I learned a little bit from it, and I think, if anything, it shows that we can all do a little bit more and make a little bit more if we just get our heads down and get on with it like Rich does. Still plans 50 calls a night, every night for the next day, and then just, has concentrated core hours of working and doesn't waste his time. So if you're enjoying the podcast, please do send it to other recruiters. And if you want to come on and tell me your story, then reach out to me on LinkedIn. And we hope you enjoy. Rich Rosen.
Hey, Dualta, how you doing?
I'm fine. How are you today?
I'm doing well.
Where am I calling to, Rich? Where are you based?
I am in Boston, Massachusetts.
What's the weather like there now?
Finally, it is a beautiful sunny day. First time in a long time.
Lovely. Are you excited about the World Cup starting?
We are. We got a good couple of good teams in the pool. We're looking good.
Who are you rooting for?
Because of my picks, Uruguay and England.
Uruguay and England. Good luck to you on that.
Everyone's top choices.
So, Rich, welcome to the Recruiter Startup School. We are delighted to have you.
Well, thanks for having me. Excited to talk to you.
So, I first came across you on Animals radio show, and I wanted to bring you on here to offer a different perspective to people. A lot of people think that whenever you set up a recruitment firm, you have to hire 10 people within a couple of years, and you end up managing people more than recruiting. But you've kind of gone the other road, haven't you? Could you walk us through your journey of what led you into recruitment?
Sure. The short version, I was actually the youngest stockbroker in the country at one point, which was probably the best training ever for this job because of all the calls you had to make and everything else. But I was 21, managed about $150 million worth of assets for this big broker. Long story short, he went crazy, worked as just went back to cold calling up here in Boston for Dean Witter, was making, literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of calls a day. And after being the top guy there for 6 months, the guy wouldn't give me my own desk because I was doing this training program. So I said, screw it, I'll leave. I'll go try this recruiting thing if I like it. I heard you can make some good money on it. If I like it, I'll start my own company. So I went to Management Recruiters, closed 2 deals my first 10 days in the job from scratch, which I think is still the fastest at MRI, at least in Boston. That was 20-something years ago.
Give us an idea of what recruitment was like then. Like that's pre using the internet for recruitment.
Yeah, that was, back then, literally it was thermal fax paper and piles and stacks of resumes. There was a phone system that was literally a year older than I was alive in the office at MRI. And, and it was literally going through, had a big desk blotter where you'd write down all your calls for the next day. And you just work down your list, but they were like, hey, make 50 calls a day. And I'm like, that was a piece of cake. I was making hundreds of calls a day before. So it was dynamite. It was what, a 22, 23, made $40,000, I think, in my first 10 days of work.
Wow.
Like, this is great. So I lasted MRI for 6 months, and, I literally bought the first computer at MRI in Boston, and out of 77 recruiters, I bought my own resources. And I was like, well, this is ridiculous. What am I doing here? So 6 months later, I was the top guy. I think pretty much every month I was there in the top 5, and went off on my own.
You went off on your own after 6 months, after only 6 months in the job.
After only 6 months. the joy of being a stupid 20-year-old.
And I take it, are you single then? You don't have any kids? You don't?
No, it's single. Just just had an apartment at the time, and it was there was a whole lot of responsibility. So quite frankly, it was the perfect time to do it. Wasn't a whole lot to risk.
You didn't have any restrictive covenants as we would have here in the UK?
I mean, they had them, but I was, I figured I'd roll the dice and see what happened. I mean, to be honest with you, it was. I believe any laws have lapsed, any time restraints have lapsed at this point. So, and but it was, I was 23, I think, and I was there for 6 months. I mean, what are they going to do?
Yeah. So what were you
my
recruiting back then?
I was doing nursing homes. I was doing nursing home administrators, directors of nursing, supervisors. Not much different than what I do now. So now I'm much more into, I do all the last 20 years. It's really been all software sales reps and executives.
So you began in a completely different space. At what point did you decide to pivot and go further up the food chain?
Yeah, the nursing home industry went bankrupt, so it made it a very easy choice. Most of the companies were going under. I had my one and only client ever. The one and only time I've ever gotten basically cheated out of a fee was, in that space. And the fees weren't as big, weren't huge, but they were good. And it was just I wasn't really passionate about it. I think to be successful, you got to be passionate about what you're selling. And I tried a couple of different areas that I liked, that I thought were interesting, and did fine. Made a couple placements in everything from from finance to architecture to even a tow truck driver for a friend, a tow truck salesman actually. But I really always thought software was interesting. I thought it was cutting edge, and I found it it's fun to read about for me. So that's where I gravitated towards.
And is this around the .com boom?
This was in the middle of the .coms. This was like late 90s basically. So I think I probably switched into software. I don't know what year it was, probably 98, 99, someplace around there.
And what happened when that first crash came? Did that affect you?
Oh yeah, that was scary as hell. Yeah, I mean, it definitely affected me. That one affected me a lot more than the second one affected me. But I mean, I still had a good year, but it was a struggle. I mean, literally, my clients were they're all up against the wall. No one was using recruiters. They didn't need to. There's a gazillion people out in the market. So yeah, I mean, for every 2 calls I made before, I'd make 4 now. It was just, you had to make that many more calls to get it done. And since people weren't really, hiring, you had nothing to do other than find companies that were willing to work with you and that, would pay a respectable fee.
So how did you run your day back then? And what kind of incremental changes, like how does your day now look in comparison?
I mean, back then, you didn't have LinkedIn, you didn't have the internet. It wasn't as powerful. So you were setting up companies to call. You would still plan. I still plan now every night. I plan 50 plus calls a day every day. So back then, instead of having phone numbers that you're ready, you would make a list. Sometimes you look them up. Sometimes you'd get the main number and just kind of call your way into a company and really have to figure out how to get to the right person.
And so today, when we look at your business, you've been doing this for 20 years. Surely there isn't too many cold calls for you to make if you're making that many calls within this niche.
I still make a ton of cold calls, actually. I love cold calling. I think all these recruiters that don't like to cold call are crazy. I think, relying on email is a horrible way to do your business. I think it's a tool that you should use. You need to use everything: texting, emails, phone calls. But I think, to me, you can't build rapport over an email. Calling people out of the blue, if they get offended, they get offended. I play sales guys. They shouldn't get it. If they're going to get that offended, they're probably not that good, in my opinion.
This is true. So
Yeah.
walk me through what your average day looks like now. So you plan 50 calls. Do you get up real early? Do you fit in exercise? How do you run this day?
So, I mean, Monday, so typical day, I start, like Sunday night, I plan for Monday. So Sunday night, I'm getting my calls ready. I'm getting my list prepared. I know who I'm going to reach out to. I'll usually do a big email blast, that night before to people I'm going to call the next day. And, I get up, get my kids off to school and make them breakfast, lunch, all that good stuff. Go to the gym for, an hour and get on, start working 8:30. And, I go pretty much straight till 5:30. And
so
then
you have a virtual assistant, right?
yeah, I got a virtual assistant. She's 30 hours a week. She lives in France. So she'll work till, 3:00 or so on, East Coast time.
Do you have a meeting with her every day or once a week?
No, I mean, honestly, I talk to her mainly over instant message, different tools that we use, and she gets it. She helps do a little research. She sends out meeting invites, basic little projects, but she doesn't really get on the phone. She's not a phone person at all. So she does what I need her to do, and she does a decent job.
Very, very good. Okay, so that there's kind of humming in the background.
Mm-hmm.
She does a lot of your scheduling and all the rest. Do you use her to send resumes?
No, I mean, I usually do that because I'll do the write-ups and everything else. I mean, I really do 99% of the stuff myself still. Like the biggest thing, she saves me some time on stamping resumes when they come into my database, cleans up a few things here and there, does some research. I mean, she's just kind of a catch-all, for a lot of things. Some days it's more research than others, and it all depends on the day that's going on. But I probably don't use her to the fullest, quite frankly.
Okay, so you run your calls during those core hours. You're working to give people. Can you just give people an idea of the desk you're running, and what's your geographical remit within that?
So, I mean, like I said, I do software sales reps and executives for, mainly for startup companies. So I work nationally. I work all across the U.S. and Canada. The average, my average salaries last year, the average placement I made was about $145,000 U.S. base salary. And, I think my average fee was, I don't know, 32 grand last year. I think it was somewhere around there.
And to clear that up for people maybe in the UK, you're able to charge trailing fees.
I don't do trailers. I mean, I just do it on the base salary. I learned a long time ago, you can't get greedy, especially when you work for yourself. Hey, listen, if someone wants to pay me a $30,000 fee, I'll take that any day over fighting over the extra, have to track someone down about their commissions and everything else. I mean, I work straight contingent for the most part. I mean, 99% of my deals are contingent.
That's impressive. So it brings me to an interesting question. On LinkedIn, I get a lot of hate anytime I say to people, you can do a lot of this job by the phone and by the tools that we have. We don't necessarily need to be meeting people face to face. You're obviously proving that that's the case.
You want to hear something funny? I think I have met maybe 12 people in person my entire career. And one of them I ended up dating her for 3 years, actually. So, was a client and a candidate.
So your wife doesn't let you meet anybody?
This was a long time ago. This was well before her.
Very good. So 12 meetings in 20 odd years. Excellent.
Yeah.
So how do you win your business?
It truly is cold calling. I mean, it's a lot of referrals. I shouldn't say truly cold calling. It's a lot of referrals. It's all cold calling, emailing. I think this, I listen, don't get me wrong. I don't think there's anything wrong with meeting people. I just think it's a giant time suck most of the time. I definitely don't think it hurt. It definitely doesn't hurt. But, for me, honestly, I love just getting on the phone, calling people and seeing how we can help. You bring them some value. And you got the trick to this business is just building rapport quickly.
Yeah. It's really interesting. I agree with everything you're saying. With regards, you're billing close or over 1 million, and you've been doing that year on year for how long?
I mean, I would say the last, I'd have to look what my average is, but I mean, I've been doing, between 800 to over 1 million, the last, I don't know, better part of 10 years at least,
That's some staggering number. I think there'll be people listening to this and they'll be going, oh, why is he still working a desk? Why doesn't he have other people doing this for him? Well, there must have been a point when you've tried to hire people, when you've tried to replicate the Rich Rosen way of doing things. Can you walk us through that?
Yeah, I mean, I've tried off and on. I mean, I really have I don't really want to get an office, and doing the virtual thing is super hard. It's hard enough to train people in person, let alone doing it virtually. So, I mean, I had one girl that worked for me, virtually, and she crushed it. I mean, she was with me for like 6 years, and it's like her billing alone, I think her best year, she did, 440, 450, in addition to my billing. And she was, some of those are split deals with me, but she was a killer. She was phenomenal, but she got burnt out. And so she moved on. I've tried other people, and honestly, I feel people need too much handholding. It's very special person that wants to put in the work and the effort it takes to be really successful in this business. And, really successful to me is not making 50, 100 grand, it's making the 4, 5, 600 grand that takes the time and the effort to put in. I find one of the hardest things to do is to hire recruiters that actually will last, and,
it's a very interesting point. And I think a lot of businesses that are built to scale, although they may not admit this, they're happy if they get 18 months to 3 years out of a recruiter.
Agreed.
And they're happy to get a grad in, drive them hard for that time, but not be over reliant on them, and then enter the next person in, divide up their desk, and then it just goes like that. Because as you said, it's a bloody hard job. What keeps you motivated? What keeps a $1 million biller that's been doing this for years? Like, what gets him up and makes 50 calls a day?
Honestly, it's the thrill of the win. It's the money. It's the, I live in Boston. Boston is an absurdly expensive place, with, to live the life we want to live. We travel a lot. We, got 2 kids. You got, there's a lot of expenses here are ridiculous. So
walk me through what a $1 million biller spends his cash on.
What I don't spend my cash on anything. My wife spends my cash on everything. I call her Spenderella. So she's she books these big fancy trips. We got we got nice cars, but it's just taxes. I mean, taxes here are taxes literally in my town. They just went up 10% yesterday, literally yesterday.
Oh my God.
And it's over $20,000 in real estate tax. So it's it's expensive. Living here is really, pricey. And then you got to remember, basically 40% of what you earn is going to taxes anyway. So it's medical insurance, health insurance, all that kind of stuff is expensive, or just bills in general. So it's just, New England's a really expensive place to live. It's a great place to live, but it is not cheap to say the least.
Yeah. Were you ever tempted to find a lower tax area?
I'd move in a heartbeat. I mean, I'm from here, but my wife has no desire to move.
Spenderella again, is it?
So exactly. So she's got no desire to move, so we're not moving anytime soon. So not till the kids are out of high school, at least.
So what type of stuff are you using to be successful other than the phone right now? And I appreciate the phone is your main tool. You're there. Is there certain software that you're using?
Yeah, I mean, I use Crelate for my database, which is a great young database company. It's it's a great value for what they give you. It's super simple to learn and use. The founders are super nice. They're great working with their users. So, I mean, I use, Crelate's my database that I use for everything. And, I can do everything. So I mass mail out of there. I email, text out of there. Do whatever, everything you can really is done out of there. But it's really, for me, I don't spend a lot on, as much as I love technology, I'm always looking for new tools. I mean, it's LinkedIn. It's Lucia for finding, phone numbers and emails. It's my database. And that's really it, to be honest with you. I find most of the tools that people use, and maybe I'm wrong, and I wish I would love someone to show me if I'm pretty technical, so I'm pretty sure I've tried these out pretty well. But I find most of these tools, at least for me as a solo guy, they just cause you more work. And I find most recruiters spend more time playing with technology in trying to create a shortcut than if they actually just did the work properly themselves, or directly. Like a lot of the list builders and stuff. There's all these different solutions out there that you can do a Boolean search and it brings everyone back to you. But you still got to go through that list anyway, just like you would on LinkedIn or anything else.
Yeah.
I've yet to see what the time savings is.
So I don't believe in any of that. There's certain things I do believe in, though. And I think virtual assistants can be probably used for more than you're using them.
Agreed.
And I also feel that the social side of being able to bring in 1,000 people, 100,000 people to your message and creating an inbound solution to go with a traditional one is probably the ideal solution, but it can also be a time dragon as well. So I think it's going to be tough to find a balance for people moving forward. And obviously, for somebody like you, if it's not broken, why fix it?
Well, that's the thing, and you focus on quality over quantity. Like, there's no need to, I just posted something yesterday because people sit there and mass email. They say email doesn't, do these bulk emails and you should personalize everything. I'm like, if you email strategically to the right people, you don't have to send 5 billion emails out. You send an email for sales guys to sales guys, an email for accountants to accountants. I mean, basic stuff that people just don't do. I get calls all the time and it just scratched my head. I'm like, why would you send it to these people? I mean, because people just they curate these giant lists and don't want to go through them, and that's the groundwork that makes the difference.
One of the things I would say I'm relatively good at is identifying quality pretty quick.
Mm-hmm.
But how do you go about that with a sales guy? Like, at what point do you go to yourself, okay, this guy's a gun, I want to work with him?
A lot of it is personality and energy. Are they, and how are they answering the questions? Are they, are they avoiding giving me numbers? Are they avoiding talking to me about success? Are they just giving me fluffy answers at a high level? Sales guys should be proud of their numbers. That's why I find with recruiters, it's funny. They get embarrassed by saying what they build. I'm like, dude, that's how you're measured, man.
They don't in the UK.
Yeah, dude, here, people get all offended. It's like, I'm like, who cares whether you did $100,000 or $1 million? That whoever you're talking to is probably not going to pay your bills anyway. So if you're not doing $1 million, then ask for help. If you're doing $1 million, ask the guy that's billing $2 million. I mean, it's for help. I mean, everyone's got a different strategy, and they all work. It's all how you execute.
So the first thing you do is you work backwards on the numbers and let them tell the story. Is that right? And then as they're telling the story, you're saying to yourself, is this guy building rapport enough? Is he selling the story? Does he sound like a good salesperson? And then once you've established those two things, is there anything else that you put into your process?
Yeah, I mean, it's literally just going through a whole series of screening questions to see what they've sold, how they've sold it, and just how they're telling a story. It's a lot of it. I mean, that's really it. I mean, there's a lot of this. To be honest with you, there's some gut feel to this job. For at least for salespeople. I mean, it's not like it's an engineer where coding or you don't know this particular programming language. Sales guys, it's energy, it's rapport. It's all right. Maybe the guy didn't have a 300% year. Why was he only 6% of his number? Where did he rank on the team? He could have still been number one. So maybe it wasn't his fault. But it's all how they tell the story. And did they have the
it's
passion?
never their fault either, though.
No,
right?
It's never their fault. Never, ever.
So that brings me back. I tried to do a bit of executive sales recruitment recently. I was just experimenting with expanding out into another area and maybe hiring somebody to do that. And I find it very different speaking to guys in their early 20s to guys in their 40s. Have you found that? And if so, what's that? How do you go around that? What's it been like?
I think yes and no. I think the average 20-year-old millennial, it's different, because they need to be coddled. You need to really sell the culture. You need to sell diversification. You need to sell them on, just different aspects. It's not about money. It's not even about career growth sometimes. It's just about the cultural fit and how they're going to learn. Yet they're going to leave in 6 months. So why they care? It's beyond me anyway. But but at the end of the day, I find the 20-year-olds, those millennials that really are the A players, they don't care about all that crap. They just really want to know. They want to know, just like every other senior sales guy, how are they going to make money? How much can they make? And is it a good place to work? I mean, no one wants to go work for some schmuck, So everyone wants a good place to go. But I find the millennials, again, this is just for sales guys, all I can speak to. They just want this. They just want honesty. They just want you to be straight with them. and, tell them the truth. And I don't think they're as different. The good ones aren't as different as people think they are,
You're a contingent guy, right?
Yep. I'm almost full contingent. We're trying to move a little bit away from that, but I don't see moving too far away from it.
Why are you trying to move away from it?
Honestly, just because, I find the market's shifting a little bit now. There's so many recruiters, so many inside recruiters, even that. I mean, I've had two deals pulled recently, 2 verbal offers pulled recently. I've had another couple of companies, internal recruiters try to, snake the system. And I'm just hearing more and more of that from other recruiters too. So it's just, I've done some engaged searches, and I'm thinking about trying to do more engaged searches now. Just because of it. I mean, just the constant. It's an interesting recruiting time with negative unemployment in the U.S. That people are still the market's actually getting harder. Not to get good companies to understand how recruiters work. It's kind of fascinating.
Yeah, and so when you're running a contingent desk, are you get a good candidate? Are you bringing that candidate to a few different places and making sure that they have options, or are you quite role specific in the way you go around your work?
If it's contingent and it's a long established client, I've got exclusivity, I'll try to keep that guy just to one company. If I know the candidate's fully interested in that opportunity. If he's just kind of dipping his toe in the water and he's not really truly excited about it, but I got him to talk to him, then I may send him out to multiple places. But if it's just like the first time working with this guy, the client's not maybe not like my A+ client yet, then or they're moving slow, then I'll send them out to as many places as I can.
So it really depends on your percentage of success.
It's the relationship. It's like, what's my relationship with this hiring manager? Is this guy going to have my back? If he has my back, I'll have his back. If it's just, I'm just, you just cannon fodder, and it's, not that I take a lot of companies that will have 15 recruiters working on a search, but if it's, if it's just the first time and I don't really get the sense that they're moving quickly. I mean, I've got clients that are good companies, good opportunities, but they just don't have the urgency, as much as they say they do. So those guys, absolutely, I'll send these guys out as many as they can.
And is the increased competition? Are you getting your fees squeezed at all?
No. I mean, companies are trying to, which is, again, in this market, it amazes me, but it just shows how bad a job recruiting as an industry has done to train companies on what a good recruiter actually does. But no, I mean, for me though, I work, 20, 25%, I got some at 28, but I won't go anything below 20% because I have a 110% belief that the cheaper the company, the bigger the pain in the ass. And to me,
that's so true.
It's so true. To me, if I can make, average my fee, give or take a few $1,000, around 30,000 US, per placement, I can live. I'll be all right.
You can more than live.
Yeah.
Unless Spenderella gets her hands on it.
Exactly.
So you're somebody I see on recruitment forums. That's not doing anything to make you money personally. So it's obviously something you're doing to try and learn as a recruiter, or to I'm not sure. What drives you to that? And who are your influencers in business and in recruitment?
I love doing these recruiting forums, and just because, one, I mean, it's just fun to help people get better at this business, because I just think that if we're all working on the same level, we'll all make more money. It all makes our job easier as recruiters. It's when you get these people doing stuff at 8%, 10%, throwing crap against the wall, type recruiting, that it hurts all of us. And so I think it's good to help everyone. It's so I find it personally interesting. I'm part of the Pinnacle Society, which is where it's all a big group of top billers, and that's part of it. I like to just give back and help a little bit to the industry and the space, and again, it just improves everyone's quality of life in this business. But as far as business guys, I mean, I love, like, guys in this business. I like Danny Cahill. I think he's got great stuff. Great one-liners, and he's probably the best in the business. So, Jeff Kay, all those types of guys.
And do you listen to other business influencers for your knowledge, or? What
I listen to a lot. I listen to a lot of podcasts. Is Ira Glass? Was it Ira Glass? Is the how we built this, how these, it's how we built this, how these people started their, mega successful companies. It's a great one. We study billionaires is a great one. Really fascinating stuff. Even Malcolm Gladwell, Revisionist History is a great one to listen to. It's just fascinating stuff that, I think one of the things you can do in this business, anything you can make yourself more well-rounded. Just you can bring up talking points about different stuff. Even the Food Network. You can learn about great restaurants in the middle of Cleveland. If you call a client in Cleveland, you say, "Hey, did you ever try this place?" And suddenly you got a whole conversation going, and you start building rapport off, to really solidify your relationship. Simple stuff like that helps.
And when you've been in the industry for, is it 25 years?
I think 22, 23, something like that.
So you've seen it change dramatically in that time. Technology alone has changed everything. You weren't using the internet before. Now it's all there. What do you see? Do you see yourself still doing this in 10 years' time? And if so, what do you think the landscape will look like then?
I got a 12 and a 14-year-old, so they still got to get through college. Which is so. Yeah, I'll be doing this for at least another 10, 15 years. What do I think it'll look like? I don't really know, to be honest with you. I'm still pretty much an old school recruiter in most ways. So even with all the technology, you embrace it and you use it. To me, I know people are getting away from the phone. I still think that's the best tool. And I think in 20 years from now, whatever form of the phone it is, whether it's just video calls or whatever, I still think it's going to be the best form. So, but whatever's going to get you whatever's going to allow you to actually have a two-way conversation, simultaneously, not an email, wait for his response, wait for your response. A real live conversation. That's whatever that is. That's what's going to be the best use of everyone's time.
Well, Rich Rosen, it's been great getting to know you, and I'm sure we've all learned a lot, and I can't wait to release this. And it's really demonstrated that there's a different way to go about business now. Like yourself, you don't have to scale it. You can just run a great desk, and it's worked out for you. So
work smart. It's got to work smart. That's all you got to do.
Good, man. Thanks for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Stay in touch.
You too. Thanks very much.
Bye. Bye.
Well, there you go, Rich Rosen, $1 Million Biller. Massive thank you to Rich for coming on and sharing his experiences. Really good guy, and I enjoyed it because I think there's lots of different ways to be successful in recruitment, and his way is very simple. I think you'll all agree listening to that. It's a business model that a lot of us could just set up and run if we had a good starting point. Now, he's been doing the same desk for over 20 years, and he is in a good marketplace, and I think he is an exceptional sales guy on a phone, and he's played to that strength. But some interesting takeaways from it, for me anyway, was that he never meets any of his candidates or clients, and he never feels it necessary to do so. Which some of you might be thinking, sales guys, it's all about presentation. How is he doing that? And there might be a bit of video stuff that he's up to as well. But I think he outlined that it's very much a results-based interview and a competency-based interview that he does with them. And it seems to work for him. Great fees, great percentages. And, he's using a virtual assistant, not really to her full effect. He isn't really doing anything with social media properly. He's very old school in the way that he operates. He plans his calls the night before. He emails them, and then he text blasts them, and then, he executes. And he's got the best candidates. He knows who the best players are. He's an expert in his market. And I think the real key to his success is that he stayed in the one place, in the one area, and he's consistent in the way that he delivers that. Now, it was only a half an hour interview, so I haven't really gone into the nitty-gritties of how he handles an objection and all the basic stuff. He does go through a lot of that on the Recruiting Animal Show, and you'll see him on the Facebook group, Recruiters Online. where he's a massive contributor to that group, where he answers questions regularly. So, James Osborne's on next week. Alex Moyle is on the week after. We're probably going to talk a bit more about scalable businesses over the next couple of weeks, because I appreciate the last couple of weeks it's been a lot about independent recruiters and solutions for them. But I want to give you guys the full spectrum of what's available to you if you're thinking of setting up a recruitment business, whether that is a lifestyle business like Rich Rosen, or it's a boutique, or it's a scalable medium-sized business, or you want to create the next Michael Page. You know, we want to cover the whole basis here. So yeah, see you next week, and hope you're all enjoying the World Cup.
The podcast you just heard was made using Anchor. Ever thought about making your own podcast? Anchor makes it really easy for anyone to get started. It's a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free. Sign up now at anchor.fm/new. That's anchor.fm/new to get started.